And I mean, Samkele, as we still have you on the line, we will recall, of course, 2 years ago when the Deputy President David Mabuza at the time, resigned as an MP first and foremost, following that request to President Cyril Ramaphosa to step down as his second in command. There was also quite a bit of confusion at that time, if you will recall, in terms of what that essentially meant. Not too long after that, we saw the swearing in of some MPs, also just signaling a change also, within the structures of the government at that time. Just take us back to those moments, if you can.
Well, Unathi, what we can say about David Mabuza is that he's always been a congressman. He's always been someone who's loved his organization, the African National Congress. He's always done what the ANC has deployed him to do, as Mzwandile Mbeji, our political editor, has so eloquently said, that he changed the course of the political trajectory of the country, of the ANC, at the height of his political career, at the time when he was seen as the Jacob Zuma protege, as someone who was very close to the former president, to the president of the African National Congress, then was outgoing Jacob Zuma, and someone who ultimately took a decision that many who were close to the former president failed to do and couldn't do in what they believed at the time was the need for the ANC to change its course. He ultimately took that decision with his province, Mpumalanga, that had grown significantly to being the second biggest province within the structures of the African National Congress. And ultimately, when he had to let go of the reins as Deputy President of the country after he had lost out in getting a second term as Deputy President of the ANC, he so gracefully at the funeral of his relative spoke about how the incoming Deputy President of the country was Deputy President of the ANC, Paul Mashatile, must respect President Cyril Ramaphosa, must give President Ramaphosa the space to lead the country, must be a buffer for the president. When he spoke at the funeral of his relative out in Barberton in Mpumalanga, which signaled that DD Mabuza was now gearing up to handing over his resignation as the Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, particularly heading towards the 2024 general election. And it was after the ANC's conference at Nasrec in 2022. You'd also remember that there was also confusion whether he'd attend the State of the Nation address in 2023, where there was that confusion during that particular period. He ultimately ended up coming to the State of the Nation address in preparation for handing over power to Shipokosa Paul Mashatile, whom they also enjoyed a very close-knit relationship after the ANC's 2017 conference in Nasrec, when Paul Mashatile was the Treasurer General of the ANC, DD Mabuza was the Deputy President. Paul Mashatile had been instrumental alongside Gwede Mantashe, alongside businessman and philanthropist Robert Gumede in swaying DD Mabuza over to the side of Cyril Ramaphosa and not supporting Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, but DD Mabuza still maintained the same level of respect and maturity for all of his political opponents. As you will see as the weeks, as the days go on, that many political parties will be speaking so eloquently about their life and times with David Mabuza. One who comes to mind is the relationship David Mabuza shared with the EFF provincial leader in Mpumalanga, Colin Sidibe, the relationship he shared with the Deputy President of the Economic Freedom Fighters, now who's a former head of government in various departments in Mpumalanga. That would be Godrich Gadi. They have a close-knit relationship. And also the relationship Mabuza shares with the incumbent President Cyril Ramaphosa, the younger generation within the ANC, such as the former Deputy President of the ANC Youth League, Desmond Mwele, the former Provincial Secretary of the Youth League in Mpumalanga, Pulu Sombatana, and a number of young ANC leaders like Ronald Lamula as well, who ultimately grew up in the hands of David Mabuza. Mandla Ndlovu as well, the provincial chair of Mpumalanga, had a very close-knit relationship with Mabuza. He was Mabuza's provincial secretary when Mabuza was the provincial chairperson of the ANC in Mpumalanga, the likes of Speedy Mashilo as well, who is the incumbent deputy president, who is the incumbent deputy chairperson of the ANC in Mpumalanga, your David Mahlobos, your Bongani Bongos, Alan Sandri, even the premier of Eastern Cape and provincial chairperson Oscar Mabuyane, who received an endorsement from Mabuza in the ANC's 2022 conference when he was contesting against Paul Mashatile for deputy president.
All right, Samkele, thank you so much for that. Of course, we'll continue to monitor those developments from where you are. Let's leave you to that for now in terms of just getting more reaction. We will, of course, return to our senior reporter, Samkele Maseko, there as we continue with our breaking news story. Former Deputy President David Mabuza has died. Of course, Deputy President David Mabuza was born at Pola Trust in the Mpumalanga province on the 25th of August 1960. He obtained a Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology from the University of South Africa in 1989, following his achievement of a National Teacher Certificate from Ngwenya College of Education in 1985. Of course, being born on the 25th of August 1960, he would have turned 65 this year. That is, in fact, next month.